Okay, the meeting now called to order. First on the agenda, we got several public hearings here. First one is a special use permit request, M&W Real Estate. The Lee County Board of Supervisors and Lee County Planning Commission will hold a joint public hearing on Tuesday, June 18, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of Lee County Courthouse, located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on a special use permit request. Mike Hughes, M&W Real Estate, has applied for a special use permit to allow self-storage mini warehouse facility in an R2 general residential district. The property is located in the Woodway community, situated between State Route 421 and Elknott Road, approximately 1.3 miles from the dot intersection, and consists of 1.7 acres of land. Tax parcel number 38-A-133D. Anybody here on that line?
As y'all are aware, Mr. Hughes applied for his own text amendment to allow this in the R2 district as a permitted use. At your last public hearing, y'all voted to do it as a special use. So now he's followed up with a special use request to allow the mini storage there in the R2 district.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else here on that behalf?
Make a motion.
This is a joint public hearing, so you won't be able to take action until we've gone through both the joint public hearings and planning commission acts on it.
Come on up.
My name is Matthew Harris. I live across the road from where he's going to put the units. I was here during the first meeting, and I feel like it was sort of brushed over on the houses that are around this particular spot. What I did was I got a Google image, I made copies. If you'd like, I can hand you a few. And it kind of gives you an idea before this decision is made of what's at stake in this particular area. When I was here, he mentioned trailer park on one side, little piece of triangle lane on the other side. Did not mention myself or the other houses across the 421 or on the opposite across from Elknott. So I just figured I would show you that. Also, there is the entrance to this is a 90-degree entrance, where not soon before that is a hilltop on the top of the road, so it comes off more of the blind spot as you come over in a 55 mile an hour on 421. And as maybe you know, I'm not too sure if, that this was actually a filled-in piece of land that allowed the water to go and then go underneath and actually go over to the other side of the property, which is on my side there. And anybody that misses this turn coming in and misses his place, the first U-turn would be my property, where it's even with the road, and as of right now, a lot of people do use that as a U-turn, which and I could just see it being more. So what I wanted to show you was that this is more of a community, a lot of houses, a little bit spread out. I'm not saying that there is a shortage of storage units, but in this community, everybody has land, everybody has space, and in my opinion, it's just going to bring people who wouldn't normally be here to this area. As far as storage, it's something I'm in the moving business for all my life. I owned a moving company for about 14 years, so I dealt with this, and this is more of a industrial sort of situation. The problem is, and when I see that, is a storage owner would look to see, clear the land and see how many units you can actually place in there. Pretty much clearing the land. There's no life. I call it a dead zone. And in the end, it's, you know, it's not a facility where it's hiring people or anything like that. This is more like, I don't know how you say it, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but, you know, some, you know, the idea of people that would use storage units are people who aren't, you know, to some degree. I'm not saying everybody, just in general. That's what I've noticed throughout my time in the business. The person who owns the trailer park that is on the one side, his home is actually, they just bought that land, and his home is actually right up against the border of this property. You know, like I said, I do have this drawn out and circled and everything. Would you like to see?
Yeah, would you pass them around?
Sure.
And I apologize, but I couldn't tell you that we had 3 minutes to the presenter. And that's what that was my fault.
And this is not really, I'm not trying to sabotage anybody, I just would rather it be more of a known of what we're making the decision on. And as you fade back on Google Earth, you can see it's more of this as it goes on. Everything circled is a house. My driveway right there is literally a short par 3 to the driveway of where that, you know, where his entrance is. You see where it says U-turn, that's my house circled next to it there. If he decides to, you know, when I assess the land, when I take a look at it, there's another area, there's a guardrail that stops people from falling into the pit that is right there, that would then go under the road onto my side. So it would be an option of this L, or if he does have access, I don't know. This is a rough of where his land is. That's not going to be an exact. But you see this little arrow on the right there. That could be another entrance, but then, you know, that puts these houses right across the street, and then you see the hilltop. That's the top of the hill where it's a blind spot coming over that hill.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else on that?
I'm Michael Hughes with M&W Real Estate. Like you said, there is other residential across the street. That's their property. We have no access or anything to that. The property now is undeveloped. We're going to have to develop the property, and we're going to do some work to the sinkhole that he was talking about. The property was filled in probably approximately 15, 16 years ago by VDOT, so it's had time to sell, but we're to see if we can actually get permission before we actually move forward with the project. But it's got to be cleared off, and, you know, it'll make the place, that whole area, if you've seen it, I don't know if that picture shows well, but, you know, clean it up. We talked about traffic access. We're not going to have a lot of traffic. I mean, there's people standing bumper to bumper to bumper going into storage units. I mean, the ones we have in Pennington and all like that, and other ones I have in Johnson. It's not, traffic's not an issue. And the property is accessed by either the front road on 421 or the back road. We've not determined which way our entrance will be yet. So there's other options. You know, we're open to a lot of stuff before we develop the property.
Any questions from the board? Anybody else on that behalf? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, next is a zoning text amendment. Lee County Board of Supervisors and Lee County Planning Commission will hold a joint public hearing on Tuesday, June 18, 2024, at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom, Lee County Courthouse, located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on zoning text amendment request. The Lee County Planning Commission has proposed a zoning text amendment to allow event venues by special use permit in the A1 Agriculture District to allow event venues as permitted use in the B1 Limited Business District, the B2 General Business District, and the BC Village Commercial District. And to amend Article 11 to include the following definition: event venue, real property with or without permanent structures for the purpose of hosting affairs, including but not limited to banquets, dinners, parties, weddings, and the like, for which attendance is permitted only by invitation or reservation. Event venues may or may not include live entertainment or have food or drink available for consumption on site. Such venues are for-profit ventures not to be construed as required or permitted for personal use of one's own property. Anybody here on that side?
With the county's zoning ordinance, the way it is written, if it's not in the ordinance as a permitted use or as a special use, it's not allowed. There's nothing right now currently in the ordinance to address this type of setting, an event venue. This is something we started getting more calls about, more questions about. People are wanting to use structures for weddings or to host other get-togethers, parties. This was something the Planning Commission started back in '22 and then was sent back from the current board, that Board of Supervisors to the Planning Commission. They never brought it back forward. This is something we're just trying to bring forward to get this put into the ordinance with this definition and allowed in those districts as read. So that way it's something that can be permitted. I know one of the concerns of the previous board was that the definition as it was written previously, if you had your own property and you wanted to have a wedding for your daughter on your property, did you have to come get a zoning permit for it? So that's why we tried to clean that up and include that last disclaimer that it's not intended for you to have it for your own personal use or personal property. This is something that's for profit, for use, is renting out or using in a commercial type setting as far as the use of the structure. Property.
Any questions for Glenn? Thank you. Anybody else on that behalf? Okay, here none, we'll move on. Jacob Stutzman, special use permit request. The Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 18, 2024, at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of the Lee County Courthouse located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on a special use permit request. Jacob Stutzman has applied for a special use permit to allow the establishment of a business to sell roofing materials in an A1 agricultural district. The property is located in the Flatwoods community on Mark Wolf Road, approximately 0.5 miles north of Flatwoods Road, and consists of plus or minus 1.03 acres of land. Tax parcel number 67-A-55A.
Mr. Chairman, this one has already gone before the Planning Commission, as stated in the application and in the public hearing notice. Mr. Stutzman wants to establish a business where he would sell roofing materials. There's a lot of other construction-related items that are built out in A1 areas like that, and he wants to be able to sell roofing materials from that location. This has been before the Planning Commission. Their recommendation is to recommend approval.
Take action on
Make a motion. to
You
approve.
need to see if there's anyone in the
that.
audience.
Aye, sir.
Oh, okay.
On that behalf?
Am I supposed to stand up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what he said. I wasn't sure when my time was to stand up and say, but yeah, I wanted to I did apply for a special use permit to start or have a business where I can sell metal roofing and siding and store some of my, like, inventory. We do guttering and metal roofing. So that's what we'd be doing in that building, storing some of that, and fabricating some of the parts before we go out on the job site. If a person wanted to pick it up at our location to where they could.
Is it gonna be tied to the Wilson Hill Trust place, First?
No, I'm affiliated with that, but it's not tied in with what you're saying. No, it's not part of the trust.
Anybody else? Okay. Hearing none, now we'll move along.
He made a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, got a motion, got a second? And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got special use permit request, Wolford Investments Property LLC. Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of Lee County Courthouse located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on a special use permit request. Wolford Investment Properties LLC has applied for a special use permit to allow manufacturing, processing, or storage in bulk of brick, concrete, cement, lime, gypsum, fertilizer, acids, chemicals, explosives, fireworks, matches, petroleum products, fuel oil, propane, or similar items. The property is located in Robbins Chapel community, north and south of State Route 606 off of Stewart Road. The property consists of plus or minus 638.88 acres of land, tax parcel number 6-A-46 and 6-A-47 and 6-A-48 and 6-A-49 and 6-A-50. Anybody here on that item? You guys want to say a word?
We're just looking to bring our business here. Last probably maybe 5 years in business. Our business has been in Miles County. We're Lee County residents our whole life, pretty much. So just looking to bring our business back to Lee County. That way we can keep it local and employ several Lee County community members. We have 24 employees, around 13 of the Lee County residents. Just move closer for them and have our business back close to home. That's pretty much it.
Anybody got any questions?
Chairman, the planning commission did recommend approval of this.
Anybody else here on that? Okay. Hearing none, got a motion to approve, got a second? And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appreciate it. Next, we have proposed revision and amendment to Lee County Erosion and Sediment Control Ordinance. The Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of the Lee County Courthouse in Jonesville, Virginia. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comment on the proposed revision and amendment to the Lee County Erosion and Sediment Control Ordinance. A copy of the complete proposed ordinance revision and amendment is available at the Lee County Administrator's Office, room 111, Lee County Courthouse, Jonesville, Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, primarily on this, several years ago, the state, we've always had an erosion and sediment control plan. Several years ago, the state came out with another program dealing with stormwater management. And at that time, originally, all counties were going to have to comply. They came back the next year and provided an option for counties to opt out of developing a stormwater management program. It's still, that's managed by the Department of Environmental Quality still. But now, as of July 1, the two programs have to be merged together. We're still exempt from having to provide that, but there's a few tweaks in our E&S program, or erosion and sediment ordinance. And the biggest change that's going to be there, most of it's very simple changes, nothing of any major impact. The biggest change will be, currently there is an exemption in that, I'll call it an exemption, rather than filing an erosion and sediment plan, someone building a residential structure can sign an agreement in lieu of filing a plan. This will expand that to allow farm buildings and structures to also fall under that agreement in lieu of a plan. So that's the biggest change that's going to take place in the ordinance.
Got anybody here on that behalf?
Yeah, my name is Tim Miles. I'm with Daniel Boone Soil and Water Conservation District, and we administer the erosion sediment control program on behalf of Lee County. And like Daniel said, you know, the reason the county's ordinance needs to be changed is due to the state combining the stormwater E&S regulations. So it's primarily just an easy means of just having make references to the new sections in the Code of Virginia, since these regulations have been combined, but then also to allow the option of the agreement in lieu of plan for farm buildings or structures, as long as it's less than 5% of impervious cover of the entire farmland. So, but that's basically the DEQ's, the state's way of actually trying to make it easier for the farmers, you know, to not have much of a financial burden or a hassle in trying to just, you know, do work on their farm as far as building structures. So, thank you, Mom.
Anybody got any questions?
Motion to approve?
Got a motion, got a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we'll move on to the proposed amendment to the Lee County Courthouse Security Fee Ordinance. Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold public hearing on Tuesday, June 18, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of the Lee County Courthouse in Jonesville, Virginia. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comment on the proposed amendment to the Lee County Courthouse Security Fee Ordinance. If adopted, the amendment will increase the courthouse security fee imposed in each criminal or traffic case in the General District Court, Juvenile or Domestic Relations Court, or Circuit Court in the County of Lee, Virginia, from $13 to $20. Anybody here on that matter? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Got a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, got a motion, got a second? And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got proposed amendment to building contractors license tax. The Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 18, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of the Lee County Courthouse located in Jonesville, Virginia. The purpose of the public hearing is to take public comment on a proposed amendment to the building contractor's license tax ordinance, which imposes a license tax in the amount of $30 or 16 cents per $100 in gross receipts of the contractor for construction projects exceeding $100,000. The proposed amendment would increase the exemption amount to $150,000. And you want to comment on that, please?
The contractor's tax, the fee was brought into existence roughly 20 to 25 years ago. It's stayed at that rate of the projects exceeding $100,000. I just felt that the reason I brought this up at the previous month's meeting was I felt that the inflation had changed the value of the dollar so much in that time span that we're seeing most of our building permits require collecting this fee on top of the permits. Even some single wides are approaching 100,000. Almost all double wides are now over that amount. I just felt that it was it had been set at that rate for so long, it was needing adjusted. I do know that it is revenue for the county that comes in based on that amount. I know we're facing issues with their budget, so I hate to cut into our revenue, but there's a lot of times we have young couples coming in trying to, get started building their first home or buying a manufactured home to set up. And we're tagging them with another $200-300 fee on top of their permits for zoning and building as well.
Any questions for Glenn? Appreciate it. Anybody here on that by? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along. Got a motion on that amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Let's see, got a motion, and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next we'll move to the departmental reports, got some work program. Any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to public expression. And if we have anybody here for public expression, let's keep it 3 minutes or less, and state your name and your address.
If you can't hear me this way, then I'll try to speak louder.
Sound fine right here.
Honorable members of the Board of Supervisors, county administrators, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dennis Horton. I'm Executive Director of Junction Center for Independent Living. We serve the counties of Lee, Wise, Scott, and the city of Norton with a range of services for persons with disabilities. There is a report in the package that shows from July 1st of 23 through the end of May of 24, the number of Lee County residents that received the service. I think the sum total was 161. It has all kinds of statistics. There's an age breakdown, there's a gender breakdown, racial and ethnicity breakdown, and then the last couple of sheets break that number down into the actual services that they received. To be brief, for the last 20 plus years, Lee County has included a local appropriation for Junction Center in its budget in the amount of $5,000. I understand the budgetary issues hard all over, but rather than be completely eliminated from the budget, we would appreciate any contributions this board could make toward services for the Lee County residents who have disabilities. There's a brochure in your packet that details each of the services that we do. I'm always available at your disposal for any further questions. I don't want to exceed my 3 minutes. Have with me Christy Timber, who is administrative assistant at Lee County resident, and we have 9 total employees, 3 of whom are Lee County residents. So for the investment that the local government makes, you get your money's worth. And I'll entertain any questions that you may have. We would be deeply appreciative of any appropriation you choose to make. We have requested $5,000, which has been the traditional amount, And like I say, I'm very acutely aware of every locality's budgetary constraints.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Probably easy. Thank you, Dave.
We won't even write you a ticket for a U-turn.
I didn't see you
Hey,
moving back.
hey, Dave. Had the cost went up tonight. Anybody else for public expression?
My name's Eddie Watson. I live in Jonesville, District 2. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Lee County Public Library. I think it's one of the most economical free services we have in Lee County. And I think it's a shame to cut their budget in half. We're not talking like millions, we're talking about, you know, a few thousands really. You cut it in half and they provide a wonderful service to so many people, elderly, children, young kids, everybody. They provide a service for everybody. And I've been using the public library since I was 12 years old, I guess. I'm sure Dane would think it's not done me much good, but it's a wonderful service. And I'm in there quite often, and they're not overstaffed. It's not like people are, you know, sitting around everywhere. They're always helpful anytime anything is needed. And I can't understand why they would be picked on to cut their budget in half. I know each of you didn't run for board of supervisors for the salary. I know each of you want to make Lee County a better place to live, a better place for children, a better place for everybody. And cutting the budget of Lee County Public Library in half is certainly not the way to do that. That's one thing that to me is obvious, right or wrong. And anything I know about this and the budget, I've read in the Palo Alto News, which I've always found to have journalistic integrity and accuracy. And I was looking at the budget, and something I don't understand. It said Lee County has got a $6 million surplus. Is that money not somewhere, or where is it? Because I saw in here interest income for the county, interest and earnings, $85,000. With $6 million, there's no reason you couldn't earn $300,000. That's 5% interest on $6 million. So I know everybody is against the tax increase. I don't like the tax increase, but I'm retired. I'm on fixed income. And if we've not had a tax increase in 16 years, I don't mind, you know, a little tax increase, especially for things like the public library. But I would be interested in hearing back while we have no more interest income. If that's the situation, we got $6 million and $85,000. Hopefully that money's not just laying around interest free. But appreciate your time.
I'm nervous today. I'm Shannon Sexton. I'm the director of the library he was just talking about. I've been here 10 months, and I'm here to try to explain how the state funding works and then answer questions you may have. It's really complicated the way they do it. What the state does, back in the 60s, they wanted libraries to join together into regional systems because it was cheaper. So Lee County, Wise County, Scott County, Dickinson County, and the city of Norton joined in together to make the Lonesome Pine Regional Library. They base the money that we get from the state on your population, your square miles, and what each county gives to the system. And I just learned that if all of the departments in the county get a reduction, they can reduce what they give us. But if some of the departments in the county get increases and some get decreases, they can take our state funding fully away. And that affects all 4 counties in the city of Norton. So we would be losing $600,000, and we just can't function on that. And I wanted to answer any questions that you may have. I know it's complicated and I'm just learning it myself, so I'll try my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody's got any questions?
Is it question and answer?
Huh?
You want it to be question and answer?
It doesn't matter what.
I like for Dane to answer the guy's question about the $6 million in reserve.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
And go from there.
Well, based on the treasurer's current report, our general fund balance is just a little over 5.3 million. As we move into the summer months, that is not an excessive amount of cash to have on hand. I don't know an exact amount at the present time. It used to take, this was 10 years ago, it took $2 to $2.5 billion to weather the summer, because we don't draw as much revenue in the summer months as we do in the fall when taxes are due. Also, school funding slacks off through the summer months. So there has to be a fairly healthy cash balance to get into the fiscal year. The other thing you look at, that also contains about 1.6 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds that are targeted. We've used them primarily for infrastructure projects and things of that nature. That's the second round of funding that came from the federal government for COVID issues. As of right now, the projected plan is to use the balance of those funds to cover the deficit for next year. We started the process of budgeting with over a $5 million deficit, proposed deficit. So 1.4 million of that is going to disappear. In addition to that, if I can find the letter from the school superintendent in my papers here, they're here tonight to request an additional appropriation for this fiscal year because student enrollment maintained a higher average for the year than what they built their budget on. And since we provided only the required local effort minimum that's required by the state for that, they're here to ask for an additional $175,000 just for this fiscal year. And also, I think in that letter, he indicated that as of the date that he was writing this, there was still $1.5 million in local funds for this year yet to be transferred into the school fund. So that amount's going to drop by about 1.7 million just in a matter of a few days, as well as clearing out the bills for year end. So that balance by June 30th will drop even further as far as what's in the general fund. With respect to interest earnings, I would defer your questions to the treasurer. You may want to talk to him.
I was gonna be able to answer some if you'd like.
Okay.
The 5%, you have to tie it up in CD for a year. So there is 1.5 million in the 5% CD. All checking from the county is drawing between 0.55 and 0.95 at each bank. Every account we have is interest bearing. But to get the 5%, you can't hand it to the bank for a month and then give you 5%. You've got to lock it for a year. So there's no possible way you can take all that money and lock it for a year.
And it may not be.
To help answer your question.
Okay, let me ask this. I'll interject. I'm sorry, I'm interjecting. But I'm just using, I know they're right, because they're right down the street. And county money, federal money, state money may be different. But Powell Valley Bank has got a checking account that you can earn over 4% interest in.
Liquidity
County may
account.
not be able to do that.
I've been talking to Blake Leaton about it.
Yeah, I think that'd be worth pursuing.
Yeah, we're going to look.
I think
the problem is you got to
we're in
do.
a $5 million deficit this year, and that's not the reason we looked at trying to make some cuts to cover it. And it's very unfortunate for the library to be one of them. And that's not for myself, and I think I can speak for everybody. It's nothing nobody wanted to do. Nothing nobody wanted to do.
Right, but as just want you to understand, you signed a contract with the other counties, and it will make them not have a library as well.
I understand, but you said back in the 60s. Can I have a copy of the contract you had?
Yes, I have.
I'd like to see it.
State funding pays for programs and all the materials that we buy to check out.
Mhm.
All the county funding pays for is staff and building upkeep. I actually have to.
And I do have one question. The Pennington Library offers a lot of programs, I understand. I didn't get to make the meeting, but I sat in on the phone with it. How come the same programs and offerings is applied at Rose Hill?
Several reasons. The Rose Hill branch really doesn't have space for children's programming, and because of the way the budget is, we didn't get an increase from Lee County in 16 years. So Rose Hill was cut back to 12 hours a week, and we only have one person there. So in order to have programming, you have to have 2 folks there.
And Pennington's open how many days?
Pennington's open 7 days a week.
I mean, is that fair?
It's not, but that's what the library board and the 2 people from Lee County suggested. We can change that if we need to, but with the cut that we have, I don't see how we're gonna not really cut Rose Hill maybe out, and I don't wanna do that because they have great people down there. We're to the point now, we have 2 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff, and they cover 61.5 hours between the 2 branches. They do all the custodial work themselves. They do all the programming and everything with just 2 full-time and 3 part-time folks. If you look at the appropriations, I sent that to you all as well. We never asked for an inflated budget. We asked for exactly what we can squeeze by with. We went from 2008 until last year before we got an increase from the county. We have a lot of part-time people to keep from having to pay benefits to make the cost cheaper. And the state library can take all the funding for everybody. So that means every system in the county, in the regional system, couldn't buy books or anything without level funding from you all. So you're not only affecting Lee County, you're affecting Wise, Dickinson, Scott, and the city of Norton. The way they have it set up, if everybody gets a decrease, they're a little bit more understanding, but where some people got an increase and we got cut so bad, they're gonna take all our funding.
So what did you say Lee County's contribution went for?
For staff and for upkeep on the buildings. We have to pay employee salaries, the FICA taxes, health insurance, life insurance, the VRS retirement, the unemployment tax. It pays for like utilities, water, electricity. It pays for the grounds. It pays for the cleaning supplies, telephone, garbage and water, that kind of thing.
Any more questions? You got a good question on? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Jerry Cox, stick with it, Virginia, Duffield. I appreciate the board and their diligence in the budget, trying to get it under control. It's tough times, but Scott County, what I read in their newspaper, they had like a $6 million deficit, and they was able to get theirs like $1.5 million. They didn't raise any of their taxes. And of course, they charge more on their real estate than Lee County does. And if we have to raise our real estate tax, we need to balance it out and lower some on that personal property tax. I think everybody here knows what I think about the license fee. We pay $40, and the other counties pay like 30, and some of them don't pay anything. The only other county that charges a $1.90 personal property fee, McKenna County, doesn't even have a license fee. And as far as the library in some of these places, I'd like to see them get funding too, but this is tough times, and maybe they may have to have some fundraisers or something. And when you look at the taxpayers on an organizational chart, the taxpayers are at the top of the organizational chart, and then the supervisors are underneath that, and then the administrator is the daily affairs. And I'd just like for you to take in consideration that, and I appreciate it, to keep our taxes comparable to other counties. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board members. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Scott County's real estate is .77, correct, per 100. But their assessments are up to date. I think that's the big difference. If I'm wrong, correct me, that's what I'm,
Okay, anybody else? Okay, here now we'll move on. Approval of minutes, May 21st, 2024, regular meeting, and May 28th, 2024, recess meeting.
Motion approved.
Okay, got a motion to approve, and a second.
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approval of refunds. I'll make a motion
I'll second.
approve the refund. Yeah, I've got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, got the county administrator reports of payroll warrants have been issued and approval of disbursements.
Make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion to pay the bills, we got a second.
I'll second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got delegations, Lee County Community Policy and Management Team, Danielle Calhoun, Lee County Children's Services Act budget.
Hello. I come to you before this team just to discuss the need for an increase or request for additional funding. As we've heard tonight, it's a lot of things have increased. So over the course of the fiscal year 2024, we've done some auditing and had 101 children in Lee County children and their families in services, in community-based services, meaning these service providers are going into their home, providing day-to-day living skills and much-needed services as that. There are 75 children in foster care in Lee County that are receiving, local funding for that, as well as other community-based services. 14 children are placed outside of the county in residential facilities, 3 of which are out of Virginia. Those have increased our costs as a team, and we now recognize, after reviewing and auditing our budget, we are short our budget $658,000. So I come to you to request that additional funding
for Children's Services Act.
Any question?
Now, you're talking the current fiscal year?
The budget has been redone for fiscal year 2025. That starts as of July 1st to accommodate the increase in expenses. Staffing is hard, the needs of the children is hard, and which makes those costs even more. We have some children, the few children placed outside of the state of Virginia, you're looking at least 150 denials from other residential facilities before we look outside of Virginia. So we have kids in Arkansas, we have kids, in Nebraska, where the kids stay there for a little while, kids in Maryland. Like these are Lee County children that because their needs are so great, we have to look outside of Virginia to get them placed. And those facilities cost a lot of money. So our budget was off by quite a bit for seeing that, but we've made those adjustments for 2025.
How long have y'all known you was operating in the red like this?
Probably the last 3 months we've had to dig in. With the rejections and denials of children's services, costs have gone up. And agencies are allowed with a 30-day notice to increase their rates on us. So the Code of Virginia requires us to staff those cases and meet the needs of the children, and their needs have increased.
So what happens if you don't get this money?
That's a great question.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It's very hard, yeah. So, I mean, if we're not able to pay our bills, then the children who are in residential will be sent back to your community.
What happens to the people that you hired? I guess some salaries come out of it.
No. And so this is money paid to the individual agencies. So the community agencies, they pay that money to some of their salaries, mostly for, I'm also an employee of a private provider in the county. And as that program director, we use that money to put that back into the children for training our staff and things like that. But yes, the employees that are here in Lee County could potentially lose their positions as well.
So how come you didn't come to us earlier? I mean, if you know this has been going on, I mean, this is a bad time for us, and I think it's a little bit blindsided for us.
Sadly, I can't answer that question because it was a little blindsiding to me as well as the chair. I've been the chair since last July 1st. However, throughout financial changes, we have a lot of outstanding payments and things like that that are now caught up. And with those changes comes the audit. The audit comes this deficit.
So basically what you're saying is, there's no control over the spending. You just keep spending and spending money that you don't have, possibly that you're never going to get, but it's okay to just keep on spending it.
No, sir. We have actually.
Do you do that at home?
No, sir. Actually, we as a team have decided on services that need to be reduced or discontinued. Children that have received services, history, kids have received mentoring services for, a year or 2 years. We are now limiting those because of the financial needs and the budget.
But when you start seeing those numbers rolling up, was there immediate action taken at all? Any at all?
There was immediate action as far as the team. With the placements of the children, those can't stop abruptly. If they do, the children who are in residential will come home. The children who are receiving services to keep them out of foster care would potentially be placed into foster care, which then increases the county's budget and other needs.
Is this some of the kids that spend the night at the DSS office?
It is, yes, sir.
So, Dane, what do we fund child services? What's the total there? You remember off the top of your head?
I don't recall exactly this year's budget amount. I don't remember what the local share was for this year.
Okay.
Their total expenditures, as far as the CSA pool fund for this year, is just under 2.9 million. So you're talking about over a 20% increase, 10 days from the end of the fiscal year.
And budgeted 2025 is set for over 5 million. With the increased needs of the children, those high acuity needs, if we don't meet that as a community, then those kids then, become homeless. Families lose custody of their children. They're placed, more children placed in foster care, placed outside of the county.
Who approves your all's budget?
The board itself approves it. It's set by Michelle, the Director of Social Services, and the CPMD board, and addresses and approves that.
For the DSS board, or?
No, our CPMD board.
But she sets the budget. She couldn't make it, so.
I'm not sure where she's at.
You work in the same building with social services down here?
I do not. I'm employed by a private provider doing preservation services.
Any more questions?
No, for me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. One last comment, Mr. Dean reminded me of, our, committee, our team, has a place for one of your board members to attend, and Mr. Smith did attend prior to his leaving the board. So we would be welcome if you all to, we meet the third Thursday of every month at 9 a.m. at Social Services. So we would welcome you of you all to attend. Any other questions? Thank you.
I don't know. Anything
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I make a comment? With this, can I make a comment with CSA?
Welcome to comment. Please. Sure. Yeah, come on up.
Been pretty open thus far.
My name is Janet Bright, and I live in Jonesville. And the reason I wanted to comment about the CSA, because I was the CSA coordinator for Lee County from December 2019 to October 2023. And in the past, CPMT chair was Mr. Brian Dean. And in the past, I have had meetings with Mr. Poe and Mr. Cope concerning the CSA budget. I think what's happening too is there is certain pots of money, and I think sometimes it's allocated for certain things. When she's talking about the CSA budget, yeah, mandated are your school, which is private day school. Those can cost $5,000, $6,000 a month. That's only private day, that's school. And the other mandated is foster care. The problem is these kids in foster care, yes, we're going from 60 to 75 to 80. But you have kids that are in residential, that's RTF. You have kids that are therapeutic, that's DePaul's, Imagine Fostering, those places. The problem is we are seeing a major increase in community-based services. Those are parenting classes, that's Office Lonesome Pine, that's FPS. Those are community-based services. And a lot of these kids are going in and out of care, and these parents have already completed parent aid. They've already completed mentoring the kids. But one of my major concerns when I was the CSA coordinator is that reimbursements are not being done. When I say reimbursements, I'm talking about if a child is receiving any check and they are in foster care and they are in a facility, CSA is supposed to be getting reimbursed. That has not happened. I think that needs to be looked at. CSA was comprised 1992-93, and it's list 5. It's a group of 5. It's DSS, it's court service unit, it's school, it's mental health, frontier health, and it's community-based services. those are the pool of funds. CSA is state. When I did CSA, I could spend over $2 million easy, but I was, of course, by myself. And of course, I was making 40-some thousand. I wasn't making 65,000. There's several issues that needs to be addressed with CSA and the CSA budget. That's what I wanted the board to know. Does anybody got any questions?
Who's responsible for the reimbursements?
DSS.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you. Okay, anybody else on that path? All right, we'll move on to the Pennington Gap bypass.
Chairman, Supervisors. Good evening. I'm Keith Carter, Town Manager, Pennington Gap. It is a pleasure to be here this evening, just to put that out there. Tonight, I'm here to request the board's support passing a resolution to urge VDOT to abandon the proposed bypass construction in Pennington Gap, Virginia. Give you a little background on the bypass. Over 20 years ago, Pennington Gap bypass project was acquired with approximately over 70-some parcels of property, displacing roughly 12 houses in the community. Now, under Virginia law, if the project hadn't started within the 20 year, no further funding has been appropriated, the original owners can reclaim their land from the state. Currently there's 2 property owners that are seeking to do just that, which could effectively, when they buy back their property, it in essence halts the bypass for the state. The properties are that runs through Pennington. I think most of y'all know it starts at Good Mountain, B&C, kind of runs out past Highway Hospital area and ties back in before you get to statewide on that end. This is prime building property for us through the town and everything. Back in February, I had the opportunity to meet with VDOT at Richmond. They assigned me a VDOT right-of-way specialist, Kimberly Lechner. Ms. Lechner has helped me with the resolution that we put before you in your packet, I think. We talked about, she worked through one similar to Charlottesville. They actually closed down the proposed railway, just never could get funding. Reason for the abandonment, it kind of would preserve our community and the infrastructure, abandoned bypass to preserve a lot of that. We have house sites now that are still there, still has water, sewer, everything's on the property. Even the driveways are there in some places. These would easily be new homes built back on the property, bringing more tax revenues and everything for the county and the town. The property is neglected. I think my Kidwell spoke to VDOT, talked about the mowing earlier. These properties do not get mowed. And so we have neighbors that have their immaculate yard beside of them, and right beside of it could be a piece of property that only gets mowed one time a year, which, you get complaints with rodents and everything that comes over those crossings. And we all know the shortage of houses in Lee County, the housing, this could be alleviated with help of the ACD. The town is currently working with them on a grant to build houses for first-time owners. And as we all know, if we can get the property back to the private individual homeowners, they can start paying taxes on this property, and it can generate, like we said, more tax revenue for the county and the town. And if we could at least get 10 of the houses built back, roughly about $150,000 to $200,000, that'd be significant money, and personal property tax comes along with the houses for the county. So tonight, I just ask for your support in passing the resolution and to VDOT abandon bypass, and it's going to be a brighter future for Pennington. I can answer any questions for you. Basically, talking to VDOT, talking to the Bristol District, Tamara, everybody. At this time, the way the smart scale structure is built and everything, that bypass ranks very low in the state of Virginia. And if it's not got funded in 20 years, I don't see it ever getting funded. So, thank you for your time. Any questions?
question? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next, is it Secor? Is that how you pronounce that, Secor?
I'm Doug Grassick. We're from Secor. This is Jessica Smith. It's my partner in our little venture up in Secor LLC. We're from Russell County, and we want to talk to you a little bit about our program that we have up in Lebanon. It's a community residential program, and the program was established through the DOC. It used to be considered the old halfway houses, years ago. People were coming through prison, getting out and going back home. It's a place to go and kind of get more acclimated to family life, if you will. Our program focuses mostly like 98% opioid convicted folks that's come through the prison system and continue to come through as just revolving door kind of thing. So what we want to change that with the services that we'll be providing, and hopefully get these guys back, on the straight and narrow. Secor, when we get a resident in from prison or the regional jail, they're going to come through a 90-day program. In that 90-day, we supply everything for the resident. We're going to, when they're there, as soon as we do the intake, immediately we're going to start trying to find a job for them. Okay. After that, we've got to work on the home plan. We've got to work on helping the resident get a place to live, of course, with the home plan and a vehicle. And that's all part of this program, this 90 days, and it's tough in 90 days to get all that done, but I think we can get it done.
As well, in that 90 days, we transport them to their jobs and back to the facility, and counseling services with the family, drug addiction counseling, and other services while they're there in 90 days.
With us, it's Cumberland Mountain. That's who we've been working with us, as far as the community service board up there. They provide counseling and things. And of course, we bring in outside counselors as well. So with that, what we're here to ask for, we purchased this building, and it's been a halfway house, if you will, a community residential program for 30 years. But we purchased it last year, and we have been in the process of getting a state contract with the DOC, the Department of Corrections. And we worked on that all last year and finally got the contract in February of this year. And that loosened up to go forward on remodeling this facility. It's a 17,000 square foot facility that has been neglected over the years. The bones of the building are in good shape, the electrical, plumbing, the roof, things like that, but it's just the condition, the paint, floors, doors, trim, you name it. It had all be gutted and totally redone. So we've got into this project, and we've had to buy about $25,000 worth of computers, and $20,000 roughly the camera system, which we've got to have, for backup and all. And it's just costs a whole lot of money. And what we're here asking is if we could ask for some of your direct opioid money that comes through the opioid abatement. And if the folks here don't know, this is not taxpayer money.
I heard
Okay.
lots of budgeting talks. I thought,
Yeah.
oh gosh, those people are good.
Absolutely. It's not taxpayer money. All this is money that's came down from different pharmacies, Walmart, Janssen, different drug companies who've been fined, through this lawsuit. So the money's appropriated for businesses like this, okay? And Todd Hughey, the chairman of the board, he's kind of directed us in a sense to help with alleviate some of this financial strain that we're under until we get the doors open. What we'd like to talk to y'all about, since you are in financial, it's always about the money and the budgets and all that, is when we have this facility open and you have residents from Lee County that come through the prison system or the regional jail, especially the regional jail, you're having to pay anywhere from $50 to $58 a day to house those people. If it's ordered through the judge, then we can house those people and all the burden comes off of you and goes over onto the DOC, okay? Thus saving you money on your actual budget. So at $50, let's just use the low end of $50, that equates, if we had an average of 5 Lee County residents, that's right at $91,000 a year we can save on your budget, keeping them out of the regional jail. And also, I'm not real familiar with the drug court down here. Y'all have a drug court. It's the same with that. Okay? When you have to bring those guys in, if they've done something wrong, instead of putting them in a regional jail for 2 weeks, judge orders come to city court for 2 weeks, and it's going to be taken care of by the DOC.
One of the things you mentioned, if I might add before I forget this, you mentioned that if the judge puts it on the state as a state inmate, the state would take over the payment on it. That's not the case. They don't pay for any of their responsible inmates now.
The DOC?
Yes.
If it's ordered through the judge,
I'm just telling you, we got the facts, but I mean.
Well, they pay a per diem. Currently, it's $12.
They don't pay what they're supposed to pay.
No.
I don't care if they pay $20, they're supposed to pay more than that.
I just want it to be accurate.
Yeah, but
Instead
I
of
just
saying
want-
they don't pay anything, I want to state they do pay.
But I want to make it
$12.
clear to everybody in the courtroom here that they don't pay what they're supposed to be paying. So there's places like the library and those people like that, if they would just pay what they're supposed to pay monthly, it would be no problem funding these libraries.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so I just want to make that clear because you brought up a good point.
And that's normally how it is when they're going to put all the, as much expense on the locality as they can. We understand that.
And most people don't know that. The average person is not aware of that.
Right. But that's kind of what we're about. That's what we're doing. We're fast tracking this to try to be open by July 15th. And that's kind of where we're at. Any questions, comments?
I have one. So I think that this thing's gonna fill up pretty quick. The funding, if we give any funding, are we gonna have guaranteed space in your building for Lee County people?
We have a contract for 50 beds to the DOC.
Sure.
And our facility holds 80. Okay? So there is going to be some room.
Because you're Lebanon. Everybody in the area is gonna send people to you. And if we
lock it,
you're gonna get phone calls from Lee County and you're gonna be on full. So what do we get for our funds is what I'm asking. Do we get guaranteed space?
With the 30 extra beds, I think so.
How many would you want to
I have
set?
no idea. Cause I know it's gonna fill up quick.
I know previous owners, they used to keep a wing kind of open for the drug court folks and work program, that kind of thing.
Just like his point to the jail, that jail's shared by, what, 3 counties? I know Lee County's the lowest number probably in that jail. My sister works there. Same thing could happen here. And I'm all for you. I think it's a good thing. It needs to happen. Wish it could happen here.
Well, unfortunately, because it got closed down, it's sad to hear that probation officers, you know, these people don't have anywhere to go. They're getting dropped off just wherever. I know Bristol on State Street because there's some homeless and stuff in the kitchen and stuff. But we're just hoping to help them reenter society with the feet on the ground. They've got a job. We save their money, a certain amount of their money they take with them that they earn. You know, we're feeding them, helping them reconnect with family and find a place to live and feel like they got their bearings.
And until we get this open, there's not a community residential program from the whole west side of Virginia to Roanoke.
No. My wife's probation officer, she's been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's all I hear.
And I'm sure she's having a time. I know everybody that we've been dealing with, from local all the way up to Richmond, it's been tough for the last year to a couple of months.
I just didn't know if you're gonna get counties guaranteed space. That's what I was wondering. Is it gonna be a county shared thing or just first come, first serve?
Right, I think
the biggest judge gets
it
them
will be up
first.
to that 50, but see, after the 50, that's all the DOC's going. That's kind of their cutoff with us, is 50. We don't have a federal contract as it is right now, but the other 30 beds, I don't see any problem being able to help Lee County as much as we can.
Have you been to the other counties surrounding?
We have.
Make this presentation?
That they help.
Yes, we've had a lot of positive input on it.
Well, with being able to serve around 200 a year, I should be able to get surely to goodness we can get a few through there.
Yeah. I know in my business, my other business, I've had folks from Lee County that's actually worked for me who came through Secord. And, I mean, I've had them all from Lee County, Scott County, Dixon, you name it, right in Southwest Virginia.
Around Harrisonburg, I think used to be about the closest, or the only one I can remember since I've been doing this, the court referred was around Harrisonburg, I think. I mean, I know there's not been one closer.
Right, there's, this, to my knowledge, this is going to be a male and female facility. And I don't even think there's a male and females in Roanoke. I think, and it might be a little smaller. You know, a lot of these facilities are actually houses, you know, from years ago, and that's what they're, halfway house, you know, that's what they are. Kind of mom and pop, but this is scaled just a little bit different. I know there is one in Richmond. I think there's a federal one maybe in maybe North or something. I'm not really sure on that.
Any more questions? Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Thank you for your time.
First, I'd like to have Clint come up and let us know what went on with the plan commission on those first two items, A and B.
Yes, for Mike Hughes, M&W Real Estate, the planning commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to the board of supervisors for the special use permit. And for the zoning text amendment, it was also unanimous to vote for approval, to recommend approval.
Okay, appreciate it. Board will take action on those.
Just don't want time.
Yeah.
moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next one is the venue text amendment. I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
And got a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next, we'll jump back up to where we left off for finance with supplemental appropriations.
Chairman, you've got there's 3 pages this month, covering a range of things. Part of this is just a slight overage in expense, $104.86 in data processing. Have some reimbursements for part-time salaries in the circuit court clerk's account office for $600. Additional the grant for the domestic violence officer was more than what we had budgeted for last year. That's $7,274.03. An additional $60,000 was awarded for the ECJS law enforcement equipment grant. Also, we received revenue on the temporary, I'm trying to think of the TPO, what those actually stand for. It won't come to me right now, but that's through the sheriff's office. That's been reimbursed. Also, we had just a little bit of shortage in the board member payments for Mountain Empire Community College, $200 and some. General expenses written through the treasurer's office that we don't budget for those. That's $44,000 and change. Miscellaneous expense, that's payments of the portion of the building fund permits that are paid to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. Those are written through the treasurer's office as well. We had have repairs to the generator in 911, and that's a budget supplement of $26,427.50. Let's say the generator, actually, I think that's the battery backup. That's what that actually was. It wasn't the generator unit. The battery backup has been there 15 years. The batteries have never been replaced. That's a huge, a very large battery backup unit. I'm used to seeing the small units that you have for a few computers, but this one takes up a wall. So that was rather costly. But it lasted a lot longer than really it should have. Also, Head Start has received additional federal revenue for their program. Also, a small amount of gas severance tax, and then a small amount, $2,500, received for the Okanita Miller Smith Chapel Interconnect Water Project. Total on all of those, $333,358.86.
Any questions on any of them? Make a motion to approve supplemental appropriation.
Second.
Got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got, new business. We'll go ahead and do those,
Everything that's on the agenda is just board appointments. If you want to go ahead and pick up the other items, that would be fine.
okay, let's go ahead and do the amended and the new business. We've got 4 additional items on here. First one is the additional additional school board appropriation to meet local effort.
You got a letter included in there from the school board, and the superintendent's here to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As we discussed at one of y'all's last budget workshops, we were waiting on the final calculation tool because we anticipated having to request an additional appropriation due to the increased enrollment. I had made Mr. Poe, I believe, aware earlier in the fall and the winter that our number was higher than what we had budgeted. Typically, they drop during the year, but it didn't. We had budgeted for 2710, and we finished with an ADM of 2,759.98, which, after we ran the calculation, which we received last Thursday, it requires an additional $175,036 for the local share. And I can answer any questions that you all got. It's just due to the enrollment going up, and I think at one of your all's meetings we talked, and I think somebody said it's the first time that enrollment has been up in Lee County since maybe the 60s.
How much has the enrollment dropped over the past 10 years?
I can get you those numbers quite a bit. It usually goes down 30, 40 a year. And that's kind of what we had based on. And, you know, I told Mr. Poe, I said, I'm shocked that I'm telling you this, that our number is up. Just giving you a heads up that we didn't budget this high because we didn't anticipate it, because it hadn't happened since, you know, maybe before the 60s.
And these funds here, the $5 million, if you give them $5,710,879, is that the total, correct? After we do the calculation and everything?
I think I've got $5,855,606. The original number was $5,680,570, which is the difference of $175,036.
Give me your number again.
That's not what's in your letter.
Your letter has $5,700,000.
I don't have my letter in front of me. Let me, well, I wrote down.
And you may be going back to the original, because you all always include the capital, the facilities fund, and we do not appropriate that with your budget every year, because
Correct.
the provision on that is that it will be appropriated when it's requested. So we don't appropriate that at the beginning of the year.
And I believe that is the difference, because y'all just never do it, because we haven't asked for it since we've done it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason of the difference in that is the capital reserve.
What's your, what kind of plan you got with these funds here? What kind of, you got any projects, what raises we doing?
Well, what the issue is, it's to meet the required local effort, so we can carry over the state money if we don't use all of the state money.
Right.
And we're going to request to carry over some state money when we finalize our books at the end of June. But they will not allow us to carry over any money if the locality does not meet the required local effort. We would have to give it all back to the state.
So we carried over $2 million last year, correct?
A little over, I think.
Just over $2 million. What's it looking like this year?
Probably gonna be close to the same. We've got a bill run that we always do at the end of June. I can get Mr. Poe those numbers as we get close to the end. Of course, I'll have to come back and ask you all for a reappropriation, but it'll be close to the same. But like I said, we've got to have that local money to be able to carry it over. And we don't want to waste it. And, you know, we talked about that when we were on budget.
Well, we obviously want you to carry it over.
And we want to meet the code to make sure we can do it. But I know it's not good times. I know that because you all, us have sat through meetings, and I hate to come and ask, but we want to carry over the money too, and I think you all do, so we can continue to do what we need to do for the school system. So.
My last question, is homeschool kids a part of this enrollment number?
No.
Do they get funding? Do you get funding for homeschool now?
No.
At all?
And some people you have kids that are homebound that don't come to school for maybe a medical reason.
Right.
But we are still providing them services. Like you might have a teacher that goes to their home. Homeschool, they opt out and they do it themselves through an online program or a mail order program or whatever they come up with.
Homeschool or homebound, which one can play sports?
Homebound because they're still a Lee County school student. And then we do have a few students who are in that virtual program and they're still Lee County students, so they could play sports as well.
And that they are funded
Correct.
virtually still.
Why would they be that?
Well, the reason we are doing it is because you have some people who think about going homeschool, but we put them in the virtual program because they, for one reason or another, don't want to come to public school. But we're providing them a public education virtually. And in our opinion, it's better than what they get with homeschool because sometimes we don't think those students are getting virtually any education.
So
it's a regional academy that we joined the school board.
How many you wrote?
We've got 30. And a lot of them are homeschool kids who came back to Lee County.
But
This determinations, do you have any say-so whatsoever on the homeschool kids? I mean, because
They have to fill out paperwork. You can't, on homebound or homeschool, Mr. Wood?
homeschool.
There are some minimum requirements that the state requires. If they come in with a program, we pretty much cannot deny them. If a parent is pretty much alive and breathing, they can decide to homeschool their child. And we can't stop them.
But is it the majority religious exemption?
A little bit different. The homeschool, we reach out to them every year and say, we're asking for a progress report. And they have to provide us with a progress report. It can be as simple as a handwritten note that I'm teaching my child reading, math, science, and social studies, and the state says that's appropriate. Religious exemption is someone who comes and asks before the school board for a religious reason that they do not want to attend public school, and if that is granted, we have no contact with them any further. We're not required to check on them. We cannot check on them. They have received a religious exemption and they are no longer contacted.
How many SOQ funded positions does the school system have?
I can get you the number. It changes every year with that calculation tool. I can do like one off the top of my head that I looked at it today. Like elementary librarians, they fund us for like a 3.7 elementary librarians. And it's kind of weird because you can't have a seventh of a person.
Yeah.
So, we've got 5 elementary schools, and we've got 4 librarians and then one that shares between Elydale and Rose Hill. But, we have one more than what they fund us at. And we do that through different funds and we do that with pretty much all of the categories. Because they don't fund you what you really need to run the school system through the SOQ part.
They being the state.
Correct.
Is that based on total student numbers and not individual school population?
Well, it'll be something like you have one, whatever you're talking about per 1,000 students. So where we have 2,700 and change students, that's where you get that point something of a person. because they don't fund you for a whole person.
But every school doesn't have equal populations.
Correct.
It screws up the numbers.
Right. Because I mean, every school has to have a principal, but every school has different numbers. You might need an assistant or at one where you don't need an assistant at another, but you pretty much have to have a principal in every building.
How many schools do you have that's got two principals?
Well, every school has a principal, and then we have schools that have assistant principals. There's no school that has two named principals. Lehigh has a principal, two assistants. Thomas Walker has a principal and an assistant. Vocational school has a principal and an assistant. The rest of the schools just have principals. And we look at that by numbers because you have 300 or so at Thomas Walker, 700 or so at Lehigh, and then Career Technical Center is a little different because they come and go from both schools. It varies 300 or 400 during the day.
Are the other county school systems based, do they base theirs on the same numbers as far as principals and assistant principals per school?
No, I mean, everybody uses their own kind of methodology. I mean, some places have assistants that I don't think we would have assistants at because they might get more funding and they have more people. So no.
How much last year's cost for the administration?
We haven't done this year or last year.
Last year, this year? It'd be close to the same, shouldn't it?
Ish, somewhere between 800,000 and $1 million. I can get you the exact number, Mr. Schumacher.
Yeah, I'd like to have these numbers before Thursday.
Okay.
What you plan for the 2 million that was carried over from last year?
Be the same as we have, continuing to roofs, improve things. You know, the board did vote on a salary increase at their board meeting last Thursday.
What was the salary increase?
It would be a 3% average.
What would that cost? What would that be total for the whole thing? That increase next year?
Doing this off the top of my head, I want to say,
You're gonna need a calculator.
yeah, $800,000-900,000 range. Don't hold me to that because I'm doing that off the top of my head.
I was just trying to learn a little more about school system.
Right. And the reason we were looking at it, like I think we told you all, is take Washington County, for example. I think their starting teacher is going to be $48,000. And we looked at moving hours from 39,400 to 41,000. We can't compete with them, but we try to stay enough that somebody doesn't want to go. Wise County, I think their starting teacher pay is 45,000, and they were looking at changing it a little. I haven't heard the result of theirs. I know we can't compete with them, but if we can keep it in the ballpark and make somebody think it's not worth driving Wise County.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
drive, but I could be fine here, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, time you take in gas, time you take in wear and tear on my car, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
And then you look at that for all the job classifications, because you want to keep everybody kind of there because guidance counselors are short, so you try to keep them so they don't run to a different district. And then, like I said, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage because we're competing against Tennessee and Kentucky too. So most counties are just competing against their Virginia neighbors, but some of us are fortunate that we've got neighbors on both sides. So,
What's your plan for the additional money, state and local money that's been requested this year?
for what I'm asking for tonight?
No.
Oh. For next year?
Yes.
Well, like the other night, we asked our board to approve looking at roofs that we haven't touched. I think I talked to Mr. Kidwell at the last budget meeting. We have not put a new roof on the gym at Thomas Walker. That is one that we need to look at. We asked them if we could get, you know, proposals for it. Rose Hill, the new addition, which would be the western end of that building, I think was built in the early 90s. Looking at getting a roof proposal on it. It's at the end of its life cycle. Same at Elk Knob. And then St. Charles, we were looking at the cafeteria, possible roof project, and looking at just continuing those type of projects so the facilities stay up and we don't get behind.
So at Elk Knob, are you having to redo that because of that storm a little over a year ago?
No, we have, that was fixed, that was an insurance claim. The part of Elk Knob is the new part, the part toward dock, that was built about the same time Rose Hill's part was built. That's at the end of its roof.
Everything you mentioned there are basically partial projects, so it is.
Yes, sir.
The 3% raise that across the board for everybody except you, obviously, you're in conference.
3% average.
3% average or 3%?
3% average.
So, explain how that works.
Okay, like you have, let's say you had someone who was at the top of the scale 8 years ago. They were at the very top. And the board 8 years ago gave a raise, and they gave that person maybe 1%. Well, they're not on the chart, they're higher than the chart. So we have some people who are not on the chart, and we would look at giving them 2% because you're off the chart, but we're looking at giving you a raise. And then you take some other people, and they might get a higher percentage. And then you've got to break it down because if you've got, let me try to do some easy math here. You got a teacher making $50,000, 3% would be a $1,500 increase. But if you've got a custodian making $20,000, a 3% would only be a $600 increase. You may give that custodian 5 or 6% and give that teacher a little less to kind of make it more even, and the percentages would average out to be 3.
So you're trying to make everyone even on the dollar amount, more or less?
Close,
Yeah.
but then you look at each classification and like say, are we paying this group enough? And if not, they might get a higher percentage to get them where they should be or where we think they should be. And another group, we may be really close to where they should be, so they wouldn't get as big of an increase, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So the step increases, you're not doing that?
They will get a step, but that'll be factored into there.
But the step will be a raise?
Correct, but we're factoring it all in together, except for people that's not on the scale.
I mean, some steps you can jump $10,000.
And we've tried to eliminate that, I think, while you was on the board, because, you know, at one time, when you went from step.
Try to even it across the board.
Correct. At one time, like if you were a teacher and you were at step 27, when you went to step 28, you got a $10,000 pay raise.
So you're saying that's basically $800,000-900,000 to do that at 3%?
That's my ballpark number without having it in front of me. And then like I said to you all the other night, you know, we looked at some probably purchasing some buses. We did get approved for 2 more additional electric buses, which we might have to look at putting another charging station in because the charging station up at the bus shop can only charge 2. So we might have a cost for the charging station.
Is that in your budget for this year?
It will be. We just got approved, the school board just approved for us to follow or to go after those 2 additional electric buses.
Did we get a line item budget from the school system?
Yeah.
When are we gonna get that?
Soon, of course, they just approved ours Thursday night.
Sure, it's approved though, so I was like.
Correct.
What's the chances of having it by Thursday?
We can do our best.
Yeah, I think the main question is 10 million plus another 2 million carryover. Where's all that going?
And then I think, like I told you all,
If you're a janitor and you get a $500-600 raise and you have to spend $500-600 more in taxes, you get nothing.
correct.
That's the bad part of all that.
And then, you know, some of it can be carried over into the future. The all-in money, which is that tutoring money, they gave us 1.8 million this year, but it can be carried over, I think, till FY '27. So there's some carryover money that'll continue forward.
So the school employee is gonna get a 3% raise regardless of what happens, correct?
The school board voted on a 3% raise.
Okay.
But at this time, Ms. Muncy might tell me if I'm saying this correct legally, we don't have an appropriation for next year, so, you know, until you all approve a budget, I guess nobody has an appropriation, so that's our plan, I guess is the best way to put it.
Tentative approved budget,
Correct.
subject to appropriation.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think we're waiting to see that one that you all approved.
The documents I gave our board was the same one I gave Mr. Poe, because we got draft on.
That was ready. Yeah, we haven't seen anything like it's been.
So, I will do my best to get you that by Thursday night.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Were you,
Thank you, sir.
were you able to confirm what we discussed today?
We have a call into the State Department, and then we emailed them. We don't have, the item that you and I spoke about is the one I think that there is discretion in.
Okay, I think that's right, but I just want to confirm it.
Correct. I don't know, that's, you may want to check with Ms. Muncy too, because we're checking with our attorney as well.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just want to move on to the next one. Flight check costs for airport project.
The electrical project that's ongoing at the airport right now, it's basically replacing all the electrical fixtures, wiring, a lot of stuff. It's underway, it's probably going to be complete within the next 3 weeks. It includes replacement of all runway lighting, runway end lighting, the precision approach path lighting, the wind cone, and the rotating beacon. It's funded 98% by federal and state grant funds. I put in here that the precision approach path lighting replacement is requiring a FAA to conduct a flight check. Actually, they'll check everything on the flight check, but the path, the approach path lighting is a critical component of that. It will not be deemed operational until the flight check is completed. The division of the FAA that conducts that test requires advance payment of the cost for the flight check prior to scheduling. The cost is it's estimated, and they do try to go to the high end, $21,293.28. This is eligible for reimbursement from our FAA and state grants, so it's sort of weird that you pay them to do it, and then they turn around and give you the money back to pay them. Yeah, but that's how they do it. But I'm requesting approval to go ahead and remit this to the FAA in order to get the flight check scheduled as soon as possible. Without it, we will not be able to open back up at full service. There'll still be some issues as far as the approach and everything until they've done that flight check.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second. Got a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Just a question. How good are these, I've just been hearing a little this and that, but how good is these people putting this back? The disturbance of the ground?
Everything will be, they're pouring what they call mowing pads, things to keep, mowers from getting into equipment, things like that. But, I mean, that'll all be taken care of as a project.
What about rock that they're digging up? Will they that's not gonna be healthy on lawnmowers and stuff, you know, it's just what it's,
I'll take a look. I didn't have time to go out there today. We had a progress meeting today, but I didn't have time to go in the field. I'll get back down there between now and the weekend and see what everything looks like.
you know, the train they're working in down there, Little Rocky.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit. Just a little.
I just wondered if we're gonna have to send a crew down there to pick up rocks where it would be, to where it could be mowed, that's
No,
my.
I think all that'll be included in closeout.
Okay, transfer station welder, repair bid.
Those bids were due yesterday. I gave you a bid tabulation attached to what you have there. We received 3 bids. You've got the bid tabs with the cost of each of the 3, as well as the bid sheet submitted by each of the 3 vendors. Those varied from $20,400 up to $30,030.
As for me, I'd like a little bit more time. Put it off, give us another month on it.
I mean, your area over there. What about you guys?
I'm abstaining from anything from this project.
Okay. And so you want to make a motion to table?
I make a motion to table this for the next meeting, next
Regular board?
regular board meeting. Regular's what I was looking for.
Got a motion, got a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, next we've got a closed session request.
Yes, that's with the treasurer. And just prior to doing that, if you would, go ahead and give a quick draft on the approval of the secondary 6-year plan and the construction budget for this coming year. It's by resolution. But you may want to take care of that before we get in closed session. We have a tendency to forget things once we get in there.
Yeah, and also the town opinions is asking for action on his own, and we've got a couple board appointments. We can do that after closed session, I guess.
Yeah. That's what I'm glad. Okay, y'all got the resolution for a 6-year plan, construction budget in front of you. I'd make a motion to approve resolution 24-004.
I'll see.
I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any other items we need to go in, closed session for?
I don't have anything. I hope anyone else has anything else.
Going into employment first. Employment.
Personnel.
Pardon?
What hours take action?
Well, I'm going to ask them, are you going to take any action on the school board's request?
Yeah, we can if you already.
Okay, and if you do, they're asking for a supplemental appropriation. Because of the ones that we just did, 333,000, we can only do $165,030 of that. We can do the other 10 at another meeting. State code is specific on that. You can do up to 10% of your budget or $500,000, whichever is lesser. So $500,000 is our limit per meeting.
Can you wait till Thursday?
Yeah, you can do it all on Thursday.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. Okay. If we get what they requested, you get what you requested.
We got line.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a fair trade-off.
We work on that 6 o'clock morning, Mr. Tiffany.
I'm sorry. It ain't just me, what
That's the only one. Oh, you said legal? Okay. Okay, got a motion to go into closed session under employment personnel 2.2-3711A1 and consultation with legal counsel 2.2-3711A7.
Was that a motion to read, I'll say?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.